Since I had a few questions pertaining to the Macondo well wreaking havoc in the Gulf of Mexico for the last several months, I went to speak with Chris Nelder, who, as an energy analyst, has written hundreds of articles on peak oil and energy in publications ranging from the Oil Drum to the Huffington Post to ASPO USA. And not only does he have a website devoted to his writings on energy futurism, he's also the author of a book on energy investment called Profit from the Peak. Chris and I discussed topics ranging from the repercussions of a moratorium on offshore drilling to incentivizing our energy transition, the legitimacy of cap and trade, and other very pertinent oil and energy related policy issues in America. So I've broken down this conversation into 7 short videos, all of them equally fascinating and highly informative.
70% of our oil is foreign. 30% of it is domestic. What percentage of that comes from the Gulf offshore drilling, of that 30%?
About 30% of U.S. domestic production is offshore, and of that, about 75% is from the Gulf of Mexico.
75%. What kind of repercussions would we have from this moratorium?
Right, so on one extreme end of it, if we shut down all offshore drilling in the U.S. altogether, just didn't pump any more from offshore, then our imports would soar from, I think it's actually closer to 2/3 now, up to about 75 or 80% of our oil we would have to import without that offshore production. So this is not something that the U.S. could tolerate economically.
Right.
That's just not an option. And if we stop drilling for new oil now, then it sets up less supply 5 to 10 years down the line from now, when then we would hope that that new production would be coming online.
Right.
Which would also be a very bad thing, because I believe that the world has reached a peak conventional oil in 2005. We've been seesawing between 72 and 74 million barrels a day since 2005, and that's despite a tripling of oil prices. It didn't bring new supply online. So we're really now, the whole world is now depending essentially on unconventional liquids. Things that are not oil, like the tar sands, like natural gas liquids, all this biofuels and that kind of thing. And since that really probably can't be increased much from here, we're at almost 87 million barrels a day of production right now worldwide, and I think we'll get up to 90 million barrels a day. Maybe. Probably not. I think it'll probably top out around 89 million barrels a day. And that'll probably happen 2011, 2012, at which point we go into terminal decline worldwide. So by 2015, the world will already be dealing with a very constricted budget of liquid fuels, without having been able to substitute other liquid fuels for the decline of oil. Right. So there will really be a lot more competition. Oil will be more expensive. It'll probably already be above the economic pain tolerance point of the U.S. And that would be the point at which new drilling today in the Gulf of Mexico, we would be needing that production most intensely.
Okay.
So a moratorium on offshore oil just doesn't make sense from an economic standpoint, or from the standpoint of being able to run our economy, because we can't make enough substitution or enough efficiency gain to really fill that gap by 2015. I just don't think we can. I've looked over the numbers; it just doesn't add up.
So what do you say to all the Americans, especially the people living on the Gulf Coast? We need to continue with this operation.
My heart just breaks to see the destruction and to think about what those people are going through. But on the other hand, those people really derive so much economic benefit, they get so many jobs out of offshore drilling, that you'll actually find a lot of people in the South that know that we need to keep drilling for offshore and support it. But now we've just gotten to the point where the risks are so high that it's just become intolerable. So, you know, the BP spill is a disaster. You know, shutting down or avoiding offshore drilling by creating good substitutes and improving efficiency, raising mileage per gallon and that sort of thing, is exactly what we should have been doing for the last 30 years. If we had done that for the last 30 years, we wouldn't have to face this rock and a hard place situation that we're in now. But we are in it now.
Right.
And I don't think that we can, I don't think we can afford to shut down offshore drilling.
Right.
You know, so it's tragic, it's incredibly risky. The environmental damage is horrifying. It'll take decades for the environment to begin to recover from this damage. But now we've gotten ourselves in a position where we can't live with it and we can't live without it.
Right.
And so I don't know what to tell those people, except I'm sorry that we spent the last 30 years avoiding the situation, denying it, buying millions of 14-mile-per-gallon SUVs, and getting deeper into this hole. But that's what we did, and that's where we are.
Right.
So I don't think there are any easy answers to that, except that we have to move much faster on not only more efficient vehicles and making the most out of every drop of oil we consume, but also eliminating vehicle traffic as much as possible and putting it onto rail, and transferring transport trucks over to natural gas. Anything that we can do that will actually take a real bite out of our oil consumption, we have to do. But we have to do it much more aggressively than anyone is contemplating at this point.
Right.
It's so hot. It's too hot to dance. It's never too hot to dance.